Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait What We Talking About podcast, episode 199. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You drop a follow over there, I'll get notified when we go live, so you join in the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services. The very next week, it was broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, like, share, subscriptions, comments, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it's helped the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Today, we're going to be talking some superheroes. We're going to talk a little bit old school. We're going to talk about new stuff and upcoming. Let's jump on into topic one. We're going to be talking about a little bit of a revisit. Well, not a revisit topic, but a revisit of some movies. We're going to talk about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. The two of them, Andrew Garfield. I had some time chilling, relaxing. I was like, you know what? I want to rewatch these and have some fun with that. And yeah, just kind of want to talk about not a changing of opinions, but just some thoughts after watching it after the release. Obviously, many years ago. Oh boy, maybe I'm getting over the top. So let's see. Amazing Spider-Man 1 came out. Oh, that's 20. Oh boy, that's the second one. Hold on. Amazing Spider-Man 1. Where the hell are you? You initially dropped. Of course, are you not going to tell me? What the fuck? How is it not here? How is it not in the list of like, ooh, this is the movies that... Come on, man. First one was 2012. Thank God. That took way too long. So first one was in 2012. Second one was in 2014. And I do remember enjoying these movies quite a bit when they did come out. Don't get me wrong. There was some stuff that was not the best with it. And that stuff still remains not to be the best about it. But I did enjoy Garfield's portrayal of Peter Parker. I did enjoy Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy quite a bit. And while the villains weren't the strongest, I did enjoy that we were trying some new stuff with a Lizard, with an Electro. We'll get to Goblin, don't worry. There were certain elements that didn't really necessarily hit or resonate, both when they came out and definitely now with this rewatch. So I did enjoy both of them, and I still enjoyed them now. There were certain aspects I just felt like hit differently, or I kind of was like, that wasn't as strong as I remember in terms of the characters. I'm going to start with Peter, start with Garfield's portrayal of him. So I did like a lot of aspects that we did get from Andrew Garfield's performance here. So obviously we're coming off the Tobey Maguire stuff, and maybe I'll do a topic where I revisit those movies. But obviously Tobey had one energy and Andrew Garfield's had a different energy. This one felt like more Peter was the loner, was kind of not, maybe down on his luck sounds like too much, but he's definitely more to himself. He was more that nerdy figure in comparison. But he also seemed like really... I don't know. Something hit with me that felt off. And it was always his interactions with... Maybe it was just because it was Gwen and he was crushing on Gwen. He stuttered a lot and he was very distant from the conversation, it seemed. Like, even when they started dating and were, like, together, he wasn't always there, or he's always, like, this weird whispery, like, tonality with her. And I'm like... This just is weird. I don't know. I felt awkward with the relationship. It didn't feel natural. I don't know how to describe it better. But at points it felt off. And I get it. Obviously with the progression in the films. Obviously the events of the first one with Captain Stacy dying. Leading into the second one with that guilt kind of overhanging him. Of like, oh, I made a promise to your dad not to put you in danger. And I don't want to put you in danger. And then there's the whole... It's like the whole movie where they're like, oh, we're going to be together. No, we're not going to be together. Let's be together. Yeah. And then events happen. There was just at points where I felt uncomfortable with their relationship and how they were interacting with each other. I wish he could have been more confident or more... I don't know, charismatic. I don't know if that's the right word either, but more comfortable in his own skin. It felt like a lot of the times he was very nervous, scared, frightened, anxious. Like, there's definitely times for that, and I think he showed good emotion with, like, obviously his relationship with Aunt May and Uncle Ben, his frustrations about his parents, which we focused a lot, obviously, in this iteration of Spider-Man with, like, who's the mystery of his parents and what happened to them. I wish he could have just been him and not this timid puppy at times. We got a little bit more interaction because I don't think they had it in Tobey Maguire's. If they did, maybe it was just the first movie with was it Joe Maglioga? Oh boy, I'm butchering names. But the Flash thing, Flash Thompson being in there, we obviously got to see that, I believe, more in Amazing Spider-Man 1. I don't think he made a return in 2. I did enjoy those aspects. There was a couple times too, like when Peter first gets his powers, like, you're doing all these incredible things. How is nobody scratching their head here of like, what is going on? But I digress. I did enjoy those, seeing those characters. So story-wise, sorry, I know I'm jumping around. Story-wise, I enjoyed what we did with adding the new elements of, like, the parents, right? Now, granted, I know the very, grassroots comic book stuff, right? I never knew his parents to be anything really super important. Obviously, he's been living with Aunt May and Uncle Ben. That's the whole shtick. But I never knew, or rather questioned or wondered what was going on with his parents. And what we tried to do with these two movies is give a little mystique and mystery to why Peter's been dropped off with Aunt May and Uncle Ben. And I did enjoy that. I wish we got more of it. We did get a glimpse of it and the tension and stuff of that in the first one. And then the second one, we learn a little bit more in the beginning about his dad and what happened to the plane crash and his involvement with Oscorp. But I felt like there was more there that we could still dig into. And I understand it was all about, like, the genetic work that they were trying to do with the animals to try and help out people and their health and stuff. It would have been nice to see more of that, or where it went. Excuse me. So I did enjoy that aspect of the movie. Now, we talked about positives. Let's talk into a negative, just because we're on this thought of the genetic manipulation with the animals and stuff. So I think we started off good. Amazing Spider-Man 1. We got Dr. Kirk Connors. We got the lizard thing where, he's trying to regrow his arm because he's missing that. And the lizard stuff goes wrong, obviously. Or the tests go wrong. He becomes the lizard. Bad guy, right? Makes sense. Cool. We have the explanation of why they're experimenting with spiders. Similar idea. That's why Peter gets his powers. Cool. Then we just kind of forget about that, it seems, in the second movie. Obviously, we have the electric eels for Electro. Okay, I don't know if there was any manipulation with those. Could be wrong. But you know where I'm going here, if you've watched these movies at least. We get to the Sinister Six that we're building up to, right? And the teases were fun. I remember when this initially came out, like being like, oh, there's the octopus, there's Vulture, there's like the all little teases, but they're all mechanical aspects of it. Now, I understand for the real hardcore comics, because I started thinking about this too going into this recording. Well, the Rhino suit was a Rhino suit, and Scorpion's was a suit, and Vulture was an old guy with a green jumpsuit, and, Doc Ock had the robot limbs. All right, that's fine. Touche. Some of it, good. Some of it, not good. Does anybody say that Rhino suit at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Paul Giamatti, like the big Robo Rhino, was that good? No, I'm not saying I want him to be like this Craven movie we got coming out with Aaron Taylor Johnson, where the guy's literally, a fucking rhino. I don't know how you do that, like, without looking stupid. You could have done a suit. You could have done the Giamatti suit. That just seemed huge. And then to have it run on all fours, I don't know. Silly, not great. How do you do it? That's open for discussion. I don't know. I can't offer you a good solution here. Be like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. Because I'm just going to be here to bitch and complain, I guess. It was good. It was fun. It was interesting, that tease of Sinister Six. Obviously, history wrote itself here. We didn't get an Amazing Spider-Man 3. We'll never know what their Sinister Six was like. But there were some rough elements there, leading to our friend the Goblin. Now, I will say this. I did enjoy, what's his name? Dane DeHaan. I hope I'm saying that right. I did enjoy his Harry Osborn. When he's moody and, gloomy and all that stuff, his dad just died, he's taking over the business. I did enjoy that. Once he, went through his transformation, I get it. The character looked stupid. The glider was fine. But the rest of it, dumb, right? Other than that, him being Harry, I think he did a very good job with. I don't know what they were thinking with the Goblin. It's that dangerous element of, like, too many villains at once. Granted, they only had 2 main ones. You get the tease of the third at the end, right? They tried to shoehorn him in. And I think that would have been better saved for a later film. Granted, they didn't get to do a later film. But he was just there. He, takes whatever injection it was. He then puts on the armor, pre-made, pre-sized, whatever as well. Gets on the glider, glides over after Peter has finished battling Electro, threatens Gwen, drops her. We have a very short fight in the clock tower. I think he gets knocked out by, like, a gear in that clock tower. Peter tries to make the save. Peter fails. Gwen breaks her neck, snaps her head, whatever the thing is. R.I.P. Sad face. He was there for all of 5 minutes, it felt like. And I don't know why they felt like they needed to just fast track him into that spot. You could have done everything you did with him, I feel, in this movie, where he comes in, there's the corporate greed, people don't want him in there because he's a kid, and then there's the distrust. You could have him learn of his dad's secret projects, special projects, whatever they were. Somehow, either whether it's at Oscorp or it's on a different facility, still do I want to get revenge on... I guess it's tough to say because he needed Peter's blood. Well, he thought he needed Peter's blood in order to survive, or Spider-Man's blood. Without him going and trying out the serum, how do you still get him in the same spot of, like, oh, I'm going to create the 6 and then we're going to go after Spider-Man type thing? I guess you could have done it where you still do everything the same. You still have this corporate thing. Him and Electro, take the facility back. He gets to the area he needs to. Maybe don't inject him right there, or keep that for the post-credits, where, we see him stab himself, inject, and have him do struggle, and then even just do, like, a close-up of the eyes, the classic, what's the term? Trope. Eyes open, it's green, and they do some kind of, like, dilation. You could have just done that, have him laugh, or a laugh while it fades to black, cuts to black rather. You could have done that tease. You didn't have to do... You could have still showed all the Sinister Six stuff in the background to be like, oh, maybe that's a thing. But you could have saved him and not had this waste of 5 minutes. Do you get the moment with Gwen of her passing? Not with the Goblin per se, but if that was your go home, like, that's what we need to do, then Goblin should have been a bigger focus, not Electro. I liked Electro. I liked what Jamie Foxx did. I liked the Electro character because I didn't know much about him, and I appreciated what they did with him. But if that was what the end goal was, we need to get Gwen dead. That sounds awful. Then Goblin should have been their main focus. Don't throw him in 5 minutes to shoehorn a death. Now, granted, you're like, Bret, you're talking about a movie that's almost 10 years old at this point. Holy shit. And they didn't make a follow-up. Why are you bitching about it? I don't know. Just talk. So, there's that. I will say camera work was great in this. The web stuff that they were doing, his mobility, we see obviously a lot of it in the games now from Insomniac. Good stuff there. Obviously, we get the return with No Way Home. Get the little redemption with Garfield. That was good times. I don't know. I kind of wish... There's no way. I know everybody's like, ooh, there's rumors of Amazing Spider-Man 3 now because of how well Far From Home did. It's not going to happen. I know you have the different multiverses, the different timelines. I highly, 99% sure they're never going to do Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's just like one of those, ironically, What If just finished up. It's that what if scenario. You'll never know the answers, but it's fun to talk about and think about these things. Like Amazing Spider-Man 2. They had Felicia Hardy. They had Black Cat in there. Apparently they had MJ Watson. Never saw her on camera, but allegedly she's in there somewhere. Like, there's characters that are hinted at. You'll never know what they were going to do with them or how it would have been done, if they were even going to go the route with certain ones. We had that fun mystery across both movies of... What was his name? I think they gave him a name in the second Amazing Spider-Man, but the first one, he was just in the end credits, and he talks to Lizard. He's got, like, a bowler hat on and all this shit. Like, what was that about? Was that supposed to be Norman? Is Norman actually dead? I don't think it's Norman. I think with the name they gave him in the second one, Andy talks to Harry, so that's stupid why I just said that. Like, what was his deal? What was his shtick in all of this? What was that supposed to be? Questions we'll never have answered, but it's fun to speculate, talk about it, all that jazz, even if it is 10 years later. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it, just because, like I said, revisiting these movies. Still enjoyed them. Don't know if I enjoyed them as much as I did back in the day, but I definitely enjoyed my time with them. I'd be interested to see if my thoughts have changed on Spider-Man 1, 2, 3 with Tobey. And give those a rewatch. But yeah, each of the Spider-Man actors has done something well with their Spider-Man. Obviously, Tobey being the first one and doing a great job of starting this initial superhero movie, at least in the modern age, with like the X-Men as well. That was good. Like I said, Garfield's performance had its ups and downs, and Tom has this nice mixture, I feel, of everything. Also, granted, that could be recency bias. Maybe we jump back a few years and we're like, no, this wasn't the best, but who knows? Yeah, Spider-Man. So speaking of superheroes, let's jump into another topic. We're going to jump over to the game universe. We're going to talk about Insomniac's Wolverine, or rather Marvel's Wolverine, whatever it's called. Now, if you don't know, there was a data breach. There was a... What do you want to call it? It's disgusting is what it was. Yeah, ransomware breach, including information from Insomniac about the Wolverine game, the alpha for it, future projects, unfortunately some information from employees, stuff like that. Someone hacked it, got it, wanted money for it, nothing happened, and they let all this information out. We're going to be talking about that. I'm not going to be talking full details, but just in case, blanket statement. If anybody doesn't want to know my thoughts if you don't want to know anything about Wolverine, like I said, I'm not diving into what actually was released. I'm just speculating and all that jazz. But if you don't want any inkling of anything, you can skip this topic. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Because we will be talking about one element, I believe, of that leak. So just want to give everybody a fair warning. But first things first. Stupid, disgusting, don't do this kind of stuff. We've had this happen a few times. GTA 6 had it happen. Obviously, Wolverine had it happen. Or Insomniac had it happen. I believe there's 2 other bigger studios that happened to as well. People just stop being dumb. All right, that's all I gotta say about that. So, what are my hopes for this Wolverine game? Once again, like I said, I haven't watched anything. I know there's alpha footage out there and information rolling around. I'm not gonna look at it. I don't care to look at it. I would rather go into this as fresh as a daisy and have some fun with it. I'm just want to talk about what I want to see from this game, and then we'll talk about one thing from the leak that we did learn. So the thing that we did learn is that Insomniac is making Marvel games for a little while, including more of the X-Men. Okay, get that out of the way. We'll talk about it later. So the Wolverine game. What do I want to see from the Wolverine game? So the Spider-Man games have absolutely crushed it. I've enjoyed them wholeheartedly. If you guys listen to last week's episode of the podcast, I think I picked Spider-Man 2 as my game of the year. Absolutely loved playing it on stream. Had a great time with it. Side quest stuff with the villains, the main villains, the 2 that they had, and how things flowed in the gameplay. Absolutely loved it. Enjoyed every second of it. With Wolverine, it's going to be a little different tale. Not that I'm not going to enjoy it, but obviously some things are going to be different in comparison to a Spider-Man. And number one is going to be mobility. Mobility is going to be a lot different just because, well, you're Wolverine. Unless you're hopping into cars, you're not going anywhere super duper fast. And that is one thing I'm curious about of how they're going to handle. Like, is it just going to be you are at ground level? Because obviously Spider-Man has the verticality of New York City as what am I trying to say? At his disposal, whether it's Peter, whether it's Miles, but Wolverine doesn't necessarily have that. Could he climb at the claws? Sure. Do I think they're going to add that? No. Have you jumping off buildings, all that jazz with this healing factor? I don't think so. So I think it's going to be definitely more grounded. But what does that mean in terms of scale of the city? Are you going to have, if it is in New York, are you going to have it be the same scale? And are you going to have that available to the players? Because considering how much content Insomniac puts in these games, you have obviously your main quest lines, but then you have your plethora of side content, whether it's villains, random things, citizens you're helping, whatever it may be. I'm curious how the scale is going to be brought in or what's going to be done about it once we get to this game. Like I said, if it's going to be something where we can use like Logan's motorcycle to get around, okay, that's a little different where we could keep the scale as is. It's just a matter of keeping that engaging enough to the players that we're fine doing that. I'm going off a lot of assumptions here with saying it's going to be in New York, so for those of you listening, if you're like, oh, they said it's going to be here, whoops, my bad. It's just, like I said, you got to make it engaging enough. At least with the swinging mechanic for both Peter and Miles, we've elevated on that or evolved from it with Spider-Man 1 into Miles Morales into Spider-Man 2. You know, you have the swinging mechanics, which Insomniac nailed, and Spider-Man games have been doing a very good job of over the years, except for Marvel's Avengers. Oops. And we've evolved on that with Miles even having in his game getting the addition of using the Venom powers to boost or jump higher. With Spider-Man 2, we got obviously the ability to use both Spider-Man, but also you had the wingsuit and the wind tunnels that you could use to your availability to get around faster and do different things and maneuver better. Obviously with Wolverine, if you do the motorcycle route, how is that going to be fun and engaging for a player that's going to want to, or not want to do that, but rather needs to do it to get from point to point, mission to mission, if they are doing an open world game? I would assume, just because that's all we can go off of with their other Marvel projects. If they're going to do that, how do they make that fun? How do they make that engaging? If it's just going to be chapter-based, mission-based, whatever, and you're hopping from point to point with Logan, hey, you don't have to worry about that. But that's something to think about. I think combat's going to be great, getting more in your face, getting more violent with the claws, I think is going to be good. Obviously, you won't have the acrobatics that the Spider-Man games do have, but I think that's going to be fun for feeling very visceral, and like the punches are going to hit, and they're going to hit hard. And I think that's going to be fun to take the more flashy side of Spider-Man, take the inspirations from Batman's Arkham, and make something even more heavy. Just seems like the best word right now. Heavy, solid in its hits and strikes and throws, grapples, whatever you want to call it. That's going to feel fun, and like you're really punishing the bad guys, whether it's maybe Sentinels, if they include those, or it's your everyday people or bad guys, and then eventually whatever villains we're going to run into with Wolverine. I think that's going to be great, and it's going to be fun to see the evolution of changing that core gameplay mechanic, or adapting it rather, to fit a whole different new character with a different moveset and a different fighting style. They've only had the one initial trailer, so I can't think of any confirmed villains. We've only had that bar scene. I'm curious who Wolverine's going to be fighting. Is it going to be a Sabretooth that's going to be your main villain? Or are they going to jump the gun and go right to like a big bad of a Magneto? I don't think they would go Magneto. I think they would save that for more of a full X-Men game. But I'm curious, and granted this also kind of goes into my grassroots comic knowledge, of who they would go with that feels like enough of a threat or a higher up threat that they could base an entire game around. Now, Insomniac has done the kind of 2-villain arc or build, once again, Spider-Man games. Excuse me. With the first one being Mr. Negative and Dr. Octopus, with Miles being the Prowler and the Tinkerer, and then with Spider-Man 2 being Kraven and Venom, and eventually what Spider-Man 3 will be. If you've seen it, you've seen it, the end credits. I'll just leave it at that. They likes to stick with their 2s. So I don't know, do they keep the pattern with Wolverine where they do 2s of 2 main baddies, or do they mix it up? But I'm trying to think of who would be big enough bad for Wolverine specifically to do either the 2 or the 1 method. Like I said, Sabretooth and Magneto seem to be my biggest, or the biggest names calling out to me. But do you do a Mr. Sinister, potentially? You know, they did him for the Deadpool game back in the day. I don't know if you would do I'm trying to think of the guy from the X-Men Origins film, the guy who experimented on him. I don't think they would do that, just because this seems like he's pretty established, but what do I know? So that'll be interesting to see who actually makes the appearance here. Stryker's the guy's name, as those baddies. In terms of side quests, this is where we could have fun with it. And Spider-Man 2 definitely had a lot of fun with this, with callbacks to the first game, new characters, smaller villains, builds, stuff like that. We built a lot of villains in Spider-Man 2, and you could have the freedom here too with X-Men to continue doing that, whether it's early Sentinel stuff, like early designs or builds. You could do different members of the Brotherhood of Mutants here, especially if you do Magneto as a big bad, and then kind of give these side quests, like Toad has one, Sabretooth has one, Mystique has one, I don't know, fuck it, Omega Red has one, throw these people in there. You could give them each their own small arc or story or builds or teases. So you could go from there. And then also side quests and content, you could tease other X-Men. We have in New York City with Spider-Man, you get a lot of reference to other heroes. You have Avengers Tower. You have the new Fantastic Tower from Kingpin's former lair. You have, Matt Murdock, his lawyer offices. You have Iron Fist's place. You have all these things. You have Artemis yelling in the corner. So with those, you could tease a lot of different characters of the X-Men, even just popping in or needing assistance as well. And speaking of the X-Men, let's talk about the X-Men game. So I think they confirmed that they're working on an X-Men game. I don't know what you do here. You have Spider-Man 2. Sorry, I know I'm talking about it a lot just because of the recency. You gave us the ability to play as both Miles and Peter here, right? With the X-Men, at least their roster, it's a lot bigger, and the powers are a lot different than, Miles just has Venom powers, and Peter has, his suit, and then eventually the Venom symbiote suit. There's a lot more powers and movesets here. You can't just do a simple, or it might not be as simple as those two. So I'm curious if and when they do that game, is it just going to be you play as Wolverine with a la a Miles in this game? Every once in a while, a different X-Men will swoop in and help you out, and you don't actually play as them. Or, and this would be very cool, would they do an X-Men Legends type Ultimate Alliance type game? X-Men Legends or Ultimate Alliance type game with this. Not necessarily 4 at a time would be great. I don't know if the power of Next Gen has that, where you could have either 4-player co-op or just 4 heroes you could bump to at any point. Do that at the same time. Or at least give us a depth roster where we could switch. Like, I want to play Wolverine now. I want to play Cyclops. I want to play Storm. I want to play Jean Grey. I want to play Nightcrawler. Like, if you had the ability to swap your characters and take them through this story and this narrative, that would be absolutely insane. That would also help with the verticality. I'm going to talk about a more kid-friendly game. We're going to talk about the Lego games, like the Marvel superheroes and Lego Avengers and stuff like that. Like, if you want to run around as Wolverine, you could run around the whole city like that. Or if you want to, you could be Thor. I know he's not an X-Men, but you could be these flying heroes. You could be Hulk, where you can jump really, really far. You could be a speedster where you could run through. Like, if they're going to continue with the New York open world, at least with that depth or that roster of characters that you could pick and choose from, that could help that mobility. And also keeps it fun and unique because different characters do different things. Maybe I want to be with Wolverine, just running across the street, or getting on the motorcycle and doing the car stuff. Cyclops with the X-Jet, or you have Storm where you're just flying around. Or if we want to get really crazy, I talked about him earlier, Nightcrawler, just teleporting around. Let's get crazy. I'm really interested to see what they do with that one. And that one, obviously, like Wolverine, I believe they said is 2025 now. Sad face, tear, but that's fine. Take your time, make it good. At this point, that X-Men game's not coming out for a while. So we got time. I'm just curious how they're going to pull it off. Like, what they're going to actually do. Like I said, is it going to be a one hero? Is it going to be the roster, whatever it is going to be? And is it even going to be open world? Are we going to have that freedom to jump around, to do what we want, whatever it is? Or is it going to be more linear? Man, Artemis really has a lot of thoughts on this. But yeah, I know the footage is out there. If you've seen it, great. Keep it to yourself. If you haven't seen it, just be careful. I'm excited to see more of this when the team is ready to put this out here, or out there. Oh my God, I'm looking at it right here. Apparently, well, this could also just be speculation. The genre in here says open world action adventure, non-linear gameplay. That could just be the internet being the internet. I don't know. Let me look at their official page, see if they've said anything. My God, dude, shush. Yeah, it just says development on their main site. It doesn't say really anything. So we'll have to see as information gets out there, what they're going to tell us, all that jazz. But everybody, this has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011. You can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live. You join on the fun and conversation. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services, or it drops topic by topic and is one big video in MP3 the very next week. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, likes, subscriptions, shares, views, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Thanks for hanging out today, guys, for the short and sweet one. We got a long one last week. Hope you guys enjoyed our Game of the Year discussion and what we're looking forward to in 2024. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode with the superhero talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.